Yes, hello everybody, and today I have a bit of a different video for you. Because instead of my usual business videos, I'm going to be instead talking about how being rich recently helped save my life. Now I can imagine my subscribers are probably thinking, Sarah, this video looks and sounds nothing like your other videos. Where are your AliExpress products in the background? Well, that's because I usually get to film with my nice camera setup back in my home city of Christchurch, New Zealand, with camera guy Paul making sure that the lighting looks good and everything is in focus. But well, unfortunately for the next few videos, I'm not going to have access to any of that because I'm not in Christchurch. I'm in a hotel in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm here because I'm recovering from a life-saving operation I had a few days ago where my inflamed appendix was removed. You see, about 2 weeks ago now, I posted on Instagram that I was flying to Canada for what was supposed to be a relaxing weekish long vacation. First stop was Edmonton to see close friends that live there. And the second stop was the city of Calgary, 3 hours away from Edmonton. Now the reason why I came to Calgary isn't because I know anybody here. I actually don't know anybody here. Instead, I was here for a geeky board game event, and everyone I knew who was attending was flying in from out of town. Most people came and left Sunday night or Monday. Thankfully, I'd opted to stay an extra day to explore the city of Calgary. And I'm really glad I did that, because if I hadn't, I would have had a medical emergency on a plane. Now luckily that didn't happen. However, my plan to explore the city of Calgary was not meant to be. Now I want to preface this video with 3 things. 1, I was very happy with the healthcare that I received in Canada, and I am extremely grateful for everybody who pitched in to save my life. The Canadian healthcare system gets a big thumbs up from me. Second of all, this story is entirely from my own perspective, and these conversations are not word for word. And thirdly, this video is not a video about my political opinions. It is merely me retelling my story. I just wanted to share this video with you to show how having access to money can drastically change your life. And you are welcome to make your own conclusions from this video and to talk about it in the comment section below. Alright, so with that out of the way, it's story time. Here is how being rich helped save my life. I was enjoying my final day in Calgary before my 14-hour flight home. On that fateful day, I even grabbed a picture of me in the morning trying out the local award-winning coffee joint. At 3 p.m. I thought, oh, my stomach. It feels gassy and weird. And at 5 p.m. I thought, oh, my stomach, it hurts. At 7 p.m. I started to feel this really sharp pain around where my appendix once was. And by 8 p.m. I was on my bed moaning in pain, a pain that I'd never felt before, and I thought, you know what, I've got a flight that I'm catching tomorrow. I need to see someone about this right now. By 8:30 p.m. I was at the local emergency clinic, and I brought a friend with me for moral support. Her flight wasn't due to go for several hours yet. So at the clinic, what you do is you line up in line and you wait for a nurse to see you first. And you know, I normally try to be brave with my pain, and in New Zealand, we've actually got a saying, she'll be alright, mate. And that's usually the attitude that I try to have towards pain, but this pain was so overwhelming that while I was waiting, I was literally on the floor clutching my stomach in tears. So finally, I get to the front of the line for my interview, and the nurse sees me, and he asks me, so Sarah, what would you say that your pain level is on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, there has to be worse pain in this world, so I'm gonna go with a 9. And he looked concerned. Are you nauseous? Mm-hmm. Do you have pain in the lower right of your stomach? Mm-hmm. Is that pain sharp? Mm-hmm. As you can see, these are the classic signs of the life-threatening condition of appendicitis that I was exhibiting, especially in regards to the way that the pain was spreading. And so he's like, yeah, you should definitely see a doctor, but there's just one snag. You see, Sarah, you're a foreigner, and your country, New Zealand, has no healthcare agreements with Canada. And I'm like, oh, no, it's okay. Like, I got good health insurance. I'm all set. And he's like, yeah, about that. That's great that you got great health insurance, Sarah, but we've recently had people say that they've got it, and then they don't, and then they run away without paying the bill. So we now require that you pay your emergency fee up front before you see a doctor, and then your insurance can just pay you back later. Do you understand? Now, I'll admit, I didn't understand. Medical bills are expensive. That's why you have health insurance. A lot of people would not have access to the liquid cash to pay the bills up front and then to be repaid by their insurance later. And so I thought truly that I didn't understand what he said. And so I'm like, sure, no problem. Now 10 minutes later, I get called by the receptionist and she's asking me lots of, details like who I am, where I live, what's my birth date, things like that. But I'm deteriorating every single minute. The receptionist was very nice to me. She could tell that I was about to vomit and got me a bowl. And almost immediately, I lost all of my dignity and threw up right in front of her. So she looks at sad Sarah and she's like, I don't really think that you're in a position to talk to me, are you? And I'm like, So she ended up talking to my friend who entirely took over that conversation. And it's all going well until the receptionist grabs the credit card machine and a piece of paper. And she's like, so Sarah, there's something that I need you to personally confirm with me. You see, I know that you have health insurance, but we now require that everybody pay their emergency fee upfront before they see a doctor. And that fee is $898. And you'll also need to pay your doctor's hourly fees, but we don't know how long you're going to be here yet for, and it might be a while, so you can pay that later. But for now, you just need to pay $898. And when you start vomiting there, I need you to just quickly sign this piece of paper stating that you understand and consent to this. Just sign that little dotted line right there. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was deathly sick. So sick that I could barely use the credit card machine. Luckily though, I did muster up the energy to do so, but as I was doing it, I thought about how this could be so very, very different if it was happening to younger Sarah right now. See, here's the thing, as my subscribers know, I earn thousands of dollars each day in passive income from my businesses, so I don't even blink at an $898 fee. But it wasn't always this way. In my early 20s, like most people, I didn't have that sort of liquid cash lying around that I could have paid for all these bills in advance. When I was in my very early 20s and working a job, I went to the USA for a trip with friends. I saved up $5,000 and by the end of the trip, my money was mostly gone. I had $1,000 to $2,000 sitting in a personal savings fund back home, but that was it. If early 20s Sarah had been struck with an $898 bill at the end of her trip, she would not have had the liquid cash to pay for it. But I'm not early 20s Sarah. So I pay it and then head back into the waiting room, and 90 minutes later I'm extremely relieved to hear a nurse call my name. They saw my condition and thankfully I went from a chair to a hospital bed. A very kind doctor came to see me, he felt my stomach and he's like, yeah, I'm strongly suspecting an appendicitis here. We'll need to run some tests to confirm. But before we do that, there's something that you need to know first. Before I can let you out of this clinic tonight, I need you to know, you'll need to pay my doctor's fees before you leave. You understand that, right? By now, I really, truly do understand that, so I'm like, And then he smiles, leaves, orders my tests, and mercifully orders me morphine, and I went from sad Sarah to happy Sarah in no time flat. Midnight hits, and my friend's got to leave to catch a flight, so we bid each other farewell, and then 5 minutes later, she's back in the door. And now I'm back. And I'm like, oh, that's great, but wait, why are you back? Don't you have a flight that you've got to catch? I do have a flight that I need to catch, but your doctor won't let me leave. What? Why? He said, I can't leave until you pay your doctor's fees. But you're not the patient. Yes, but I'm with you, and so he won't let me leave until it's paid, and it's gonna cost $490. It turns out that she'd actually tried to pay it so that she could catch her flight and leave, but she didn't have enough money, funnily enough, on her credit card because it was the end of her trip. I was actually too sick to get out of bed and pay the bill, so I just transferred the money to her card, she paid the bill, and was then allowed to leave. Right after she left, the doctors ended up switching shifts, and I got a new doctor who was once again very nice and very good. He made sure that I had my final test, a CT scan at 2 a.m. in the morning, and by 3 a.m. the results were in and he came bouncing in to tell me my fate. Alright Sarah, it's official, you have an appendicitis. And you know what I did? I burst into tears. I was so scared that my appendix was just going to burst like right then and there. Oh my goodness, am I going to die? And he's like, No, Sarah, it hasn't ruptured yet, and you came in quickly. You're fine. I've ordered you an ambulance and I'll take you straight to the hospital, and within a few hours they'll remove your appendix. It'll be super easy. But before that, just one thing. You see, before you can get into the ambulance and leave for your operation, my doctor's fees are outstanding. I've done the calculations, and it's going to be $490. I know that you can't get up to pay the bill, so I'll bring the credit card machine to your bed. And that's what he did. And while high on a mixture of both morphine and extreme anxiety, I desperately tried to pay this new bill as fast as I could so that I could get into that ambulance ASAP. So I did get into that ambulance, and we arrived safely at the hospital, and they wheeled me in. I was settled on a comfy chair for a few hours as I waited for my turn to go under the knife. At 7 a.m, I was being prepped for surgery, and honestly, I've had 4 operations on my ears, and some of them were fairly serious, and I hated the experience of going under with anesthesia each and every time. Because as you do, there's this really weird sensation of your breathing slowing and stopping, and I just hate it. So I was super nervous and jittery. So I climbed onto the operating table and I got under the sheet, naked, super vulnerable, shaking with fear. One of the surgeons took pity on me, and so he tried to make small talk to calm me down, and it was actually working really well until his face got really serious. And he's like, "So, Sarah, I've just got to ask you something real quick. Now don't worry, this won't impact your operation. You're gonna have the same care, no matter what you say here, I swear. But I just want to know, do you have health insurance?" And I'm lying there, stretched out like a crucifix, thinking, what? Really? Now? And I'm like, "Yes, I definitely have health insurance." And he's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "No, really, I definitely have health insurance." Shortly thereafter, the mask got put on my face and I was unconscious, and you know what? The operation went fantastically. I had great surgeons at a great hospital, and there were no complications at all. In fact, I even recovered within a few hours, and so after showing them proof that yes, indeed, I did have health insurance this whole time, I was allowed to leave the hospital. And as I was being wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair, I couldn't help but think, what if early 20s Sarah had been the one to have an emergency surgery overseas and couldn't have paid for all these bills up front along the way? What if I wasn't rich like I am today? My experience would have been entirely different. Now, I talked to some of my Canadian friends later, and they assured me that if I could not have paid my emergency bill, that yes, the doctors would have indeed seen me. And I actually did confirm that they were right. Here was my emergency fee bill. As you can see, it says the emergency fee must be paid unless it can't, in which case you have to negotiate with the financial aid office, something I was definitely not told. Early 20s Sarah would have wasted a lot of time either trying to negotiate with the financial office throughout the night or trying to secure loans from family and friends back home. Now look, I know that dying from an appendicitis, especially if you catch it early, is extremely unlikely thanks to modern medicine, but honestly, there are no guarantees. I know this because I kept asking everyone that I could, doctors, nurses, surgeons, could my appendix rupture? Could I die? And their answer was always, well, you know, Sarah, you caught it extremely early, so it's extremely unlikely, but there are no guarantees. It hasn't happened yet though, so try not to worry about it. But honestly, that's just the start of how money has made the situation entirely different. Because of my money, I'm far less likely to have post-operative complications. Because of my operation, I can't fly home. And so because of that, I needed to get accommodation in the meantime. Early 20s Sarah would have had to scrounge up even more cash to book a cheap yet cheerful hotel for a few nights, hoping that insurance money would come through ASAP, and I can tell you that has not happened. Whereas I was able to straight up book a nice hotel room with room service to reduce stress on my body. And something else early 20s Sarah would have done is tried to get home ASAP, even at the cost of my health, because each day I had off work was one less day that I was being paid. I would have rushed home and roughed it out in economy with my surgery wounds because that's all I could have afforded. Whereas now I can just wait until whenever the doctor recommends I fly home and rest my body in business class. And so for me, this experience has done two things. One, it's made me reflect on how incredibly lucky I am to be in such a financial position, and it's given me a lot of gratitude. But it's also been the single most enlightening moment of my life, showing me how money truly creates options and changes your life. So yes, that's my story, and yes, I'm going to be in Calgary for a little while yet, so I'm sorry that the visual and audio quality of my videos is going to be different from normal, but if you liked this one, then please subscribe and click that little notification bell next to it so that you don't miss out on any of our videos.